Hello, this is Nick from Breaker Press Games, and this is a Breaker Press Games update for June 3rd, 2022. Hello, and it's update time. Normally, I like to do these around the 20th of the month, so this should have been around the 20th of May, but life got in the way. In fact, where we're going to start this update is going to be with what's going on with my life, because that's a huge part of where everything is at. In fact, you will notice that I am in a very different space. Normally, whenever you watched one of these videos, I was had a brick wall behind me, which was the back, or I should say side wall of the studio that I keep all the Breaker Press Games stuff in, do all the packaging and do all the recording and all that good stuff. But the studio computer has since been moved to my house, and hopefully this is a temporary condition, but it is where things are at right now. So I mentioned in a bunch of the different past videos that my life was going through some big changes. And so here's a quick overview of what's going on. So back in August of last year, so almost a year ago now, I separated with my long-term partner. It was something that I think for a lot of people in the during the pandemic, people started to reevaluate things and what have you, and it was just something that happened. We're still best friends, but we live in separate places, and so with that separation, I originally was crashing at the studio, and that worked out well from the standpoint of getting things done. I would finish my workday and go to the studio. And would then, put a few hours in at the studio each day after I got out of work. And so, unfortunately, that was not sustainable. The studio was, you're not supposed to be living there. It also was very cold. But I made do, as you do. And part of, why I stayed there as long as I did, because I ended up staying there all the way basically through all of September, all the way through till March, till late March. And that was because the housing market's crazy, rents are crazy, and I have an elderly pit bull, and I needed to have a place where I could afford the rent or the monthly payment and be able to have my best buddy with me. And so what was the end result is that I ended up buying a house. I bought a very affordable house, one that at some point the monthly payments I should be able to pay with just Breaker Press. But there's a bit of money that needs to go into things before I can make that happen. So I'm going to continue life at my day job. Funnel a lot of money and time into getting this place to where it needs to be so that I can be sustainable. So I bought the house in March, and April was a settling in process. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures, because this is my way of settling in. Yep, that's a trench. I ended up discovering that there were a bunch of box elder trees. They look like weeds, but yeah, they're trees that were growing into my foundation. And you can see the stumps off in the upper right-hand corner. But I had originally just cut them back and saw that as soon as we had some good rains, then they started regrowing and coming right back to life. And it's like, no, I can't have this. And so I ended up cutting out the stumps. And so I had to deal with that really ugly trench for a couple of weeks. as I went through and made that happen, but now it looks more like this. So other than the fact that I need to plant some grass and get some wood chips in there, yeah, life with owning a house. I also met with you can't hear them right now, but I have a bit of a squirrel infestation, and so I contacted a company called Skedaddle that do humane squirrel removal, and found out that my squirrel problem is a $2,000 squirrel problem. So yeah, I got that to look forward to. But that's I knew that home ownership, especially buying a for lack of a better word, a cheap ass house, that I was going to have some issues, and that's one of the issues. So, but part of that settling in process was also discovering that I didn't have any time between the house and work to actually go to the studio right now. And so after realizing that through the month of April I was getting to the studio for 2 to 3 hours a week instead of basically getting home from work and then just like sitting straight at the computer and just working on stuff, I went from putting in 15, 20 or even more hours a week into Breaker Press to putting in 2 to 3 hours at the studio, and I wasn't getting enough done. So I moved the studio computer over to here, but that took a little bit of work because I had to run Ethernet cable through the basement, drill holes in the floors, yada yada, and all of that good stuff. So it took a little while to get all of that set up, but the computer is set up, Ethernet set up. Now have all the video equipment, recording equipment, all that stuff is all here, and I started resuming work on Protectorate of Jenulane. And so with that being said, I'm going to jump right into where we're at with different projects. So Stennard Courier, last two videos, I mentioned that there were still about 20 people that are waiting on their stuff. There's still 20 people that are waiting on their stuff. And I apologize. It's because I haven't been to the studio at all. I did not move all the shipping stuff over here because that's a whole other can of worms. It takes up an incredible amount of space at the studio, and it's a mess. And I just with trying to get this place organized, it's just not a sustainable thing. But that being said, with the people are waiting, I apologize. I am going to emphasize getting that stuff done over the next 2 weeks. I did do a quick bit of research before I recorded this because I know that I got messages from a couple of people from Australia being like, hey, have the issues with the Australian packages been lifted? Have they been shipped? And from what I could tell from the U.S. Postal Service website, which is a little dodgy at best, but from what I could tell, it seemed like the restrictions on Australian packages have been lifted. So I should be able to get all of those out. They are a good chunk of the 20 that remain to be shipped. I'm just going to push that stuff out the door. And I apologize that you have waited so long. So, Stennard Courier, that's that. Protectorate of Jenulane. Protectorate of Jenulane, I spent a good chunk of the last few weeks doing layout work, doing additional writing. We also had Romance of the Cyclops Con right before I moved the computer, and got a little bit of last minute playtesting in. So Alex finished or is finishing the first editing pass. He sent me a message a couple of days ago that he had gotten through the first 20 pages and should have the other 20 pages done this weekend. I want to read you this quote. Hopefully Alex doesn't mind that I am quoting him. This is a message that Alex sent to me, and it warmed my heart and hopefully will also make you guys feel a little bit more comfortable about waiting a little bit longer for this project to be completed. To quote Alex, "Now that I'm moving on this thing, I mean it when I say I think this is the thing I am most excited about releasing. It's a really fun pile of encounters and probably the most creative thing you've put out." And so, yeah, that, with the wait and delays and, life being a little chaotic, hearing something like that, it puts gas in the engine and makes it, it helps me keep moving along. And hopefully it reassures you that, what you're waiting for is going to be worth it. So that was a really nice thing for Alex to say. And I hope you guys all feel the same way when you get it in your hands. So one of the things one of the mistakes that I made in the last couple of videos / Kickstarter updates was giving a timeline on Protectorate. So I, created 2 or 3 different timelines of, what I expected to be, when different parts of the project are going to be done. And yeah, those timelines got thrown out the window, and rather than make myself look like an ass again, I'm just not going to give a timeline until I've got things rock solid. The things that I can tell you is that at Alex's request, I built a new Asana page. One of the things that we did with the Precipice of Corruption that was really helpful, since it's a bigger project and had a lot more moving parts, was that created an Asana page so that people could check off when things were done, break things up into their respective parts, and so that we could make sure that we are keeping track of what was done and when it was done, and what still needs to be done. And so yeah, at Alex's request, I created a new Asana page a couple of weeks ago. Alex has been diligently working along. I then also assigned some things to Hal, just laying out the cover and back cover of the book, as well as finishing those cards. He did show me the work that he had put into the cards so far. Wanted to get my opinion on different variations of basically how he not laid out the card, but cleaned up the cards, cleaned up the art. And we came to a decision, and so hopefully he's been working on those. I will check in with him this weekend. But yeah, there's progress. Progress is being made. It's just going a little bit slower. So then we go to Hillwood Camp / Cleft in the Mangled Hills. And so, that project is supposed to ship in July, I believe. And I can tell you right now that's not going to happen. It just is what it is. But we are still making progress on those things. I do want to share this piece of art because it makes me really happy. So this is art from Carlos Castilho. Currently, Jamie Jordan is taking a little bit of a commission break. We rode him hard for the last 2 years, and so he needed a little time to recharge. But luckily, Carlos Castillo is a machine and was able to step in to help out. As you can see, this is a party moving through a rugged road in a gulch between 2 hills, with a storm approaching in the background. I love it. Of course, it includes a dog, because if we're gonna have a party, there's got to be a dog. So yeah, I'm really excited to be working with Carlos. You guys already saw some of the cockroach man and cockroach creature, I think, in previous updates. Yeah, I'm really happy with the work that he is doing, and just exciting stuff. So everything is moving forward. Everything is in process. It's just going a bit slower, and hopefully things will pick up now that I've got the studio computer at the house. It does mean that I'm probably not going to be doing any fancy looking videos anytime soon, but it is what it is. So the other thing that I want to say as we wrap this up is that, so in the last few videos, I mentioned future projects, things that I was working on: Stennard Courier Volume 2, Rabid Dogs Volume 2, Stennard Player's Guide, all these things that I am really excited about and had started putting some time in to these things. And yeah, now that I've fallen as far behind as I have on the Protectorate of Jenulane and Cleft in the Mangled Hills, I'm just going to put all that stuff on the back burner. I'm sure I'll nibble at them a little bit here and there, and all that stuff will go on to Patreon. I've been kind of neglecting the Patreon as well. Oh my god. Sorry. Throwing my clipboard around. But essentially, in order to be able to stay focused on the things that really need to get done, I'm just going to put all that stuff on the back burner and just nibble at it, and put the content that I do get done on Patreon. The one thing that I did do that I am excited about announcing is that one of the Patreon backer levels is to have access to a monthly game with me, and that's been spotty at best because of the fact that I am very reactive, and I usually wait till the last minute to be like, hey, does anybody want to play? And I'll get like one or two of my patrons are available, yada yada. This time around, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna grab my day planner, sitting right here. Hey, there it is, day planner. And I set 3 dates, one for June, one for July, one for August. In fact, if it's an enticement to join the Patreon page, the date for the Saturday game is Saturday, June 18th at 6 p.m. Central Time. The one for July is July 16th, which is also DCC Day. So, get your DCC in the morning if you're going to be running something, and if you want to play a game with me in the evening at 6 p.m. Central Time. And then August 27th, Saturday, August 27th. So those are the next 3 Patreon games. I encourage you to get involved with our Patreon page and see content, work in progress content, as well as be able to like hang out and do some stuff. It will hopefully accelerate me getting out of this white box and getting the computer back to the studio and getting back to doing Breaker Press as my full-time thing, because that's really where my heart is. So yeah, that is the update for June 3rd, 2022. As always, thank you all so much for your patience and for your support. I couldn't do any of this without you. And in all honesty, my day job doesn't bring me the joy that doing Breaker Press games does. So, I hope to be doing this for many years to come. So please be patient with me as we go through this transitional time. And as always, as I like to end things, thank you for supporting indie games and indie game designers. This is Nick Barron from Breaker Press Games signing off, and you all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks. Bye.